Good morning to all. Welcome to the second session on Chapter 3 Production and Cost. Today in this session, we are going to learn about short-run cost and long-run cost. Now, in the previous class, we had spoken about what is an isoquant and how did we draw on the graph of isoquant. Going forward, we're going to talk about short-run cost and long-run cost. Now, before we get into the concept of what is short run and why it is so important in economics, we need to understand the cycle of an industry. So when I use this word cycle, it is very important for us to understand how does this affect the industry altogether. We started this example of a chocolate manufacturing industry. For every business, be it a chocolate or a car or be it an aeroplane, there is some cycles on which they work, which means there are some periodic valuations that keep happening for that particular industry. All the industries do not have the same kind of focus when it comes to manufacturing. Certain people might have a long run, certain people might have a short run. Certain people might think that the business is good enough when we do it seasonally, and certain people might think that my business is an evergreen business altogether. So keeping all this understanding, the terminologies in mind, we need to understand the dynamics of a business and how do they produce or how do they manufacture. In context to that, in reference to that, we are going to talk about this short-run cost in Chapter 3. Now, what is a short-run cost? As the name indicates, the word short-run cost. Now, the moment I say short-run, that means the time period is less, which means my production is limited for 6 months or 1 year. My immediate understanding of short run is that I have a limited time period and I will start manufacturing whatever I can within that time period and I will start keep moving forward. So my biggest factor here is that the time is a limited factor. So with that in mind, I will try to address the two concepts that we need to understand in short run. Now, what are those two factors? Fixed factor and variable factor. So we have two factors called as fixed factor and variable factor. Now, what is the meaning of fixed factor altogether? Now, when you say fixed factor, that means which is something constant. It is not going to change. They are fixed, they will remain constant throughout the business, throughout the manufacturing cycle. A variable factor is one which will vary or which can be adjusted, altered according to the need of the business, according to the need of the manufacturing product. So, when we talk about the short-run curve, the immediate understanding that we need to look here is that I am typically looking out to run a business in a small time frame. So for example, if you are taking the chocolate industry, I want to manufacture chocolate during the season of Diwali. Because Diwali is a season where most of the people will buy sweets and chocolates. Now, if that particular function or the particular event comes in the month of October, November, my production cycle would typically start from August, September and concentrate till that month end, say up to the month of November. So from August to November, that is August, September, October, November, 4 months would be my concentration, and in that 4 months, I will try to produce the maximum number of chocolates. It might be in lakhs or it might be in millions, I do not know, but I would try to focus on the maximum production altogether. So my concentration here is that to keep certain factors fixed and to vary a very little amount. So what will I do is that I will try to first understand my production quantity. Based on that, I will fix my input, I will fix my manpower and start working towards the goal. In between, moment I start getting the news that the market is varying, if the demand is coming down or the demand is going to go up, any of those kind of factors start coming inside, I will bring in variable factors. I might reduce the manpower, or I might reduce the capital, or I might not require all the machinery that I wanted. But initially, in a short run, when I talk about, pretty much I know what I'm going to do in that time frame. I want to do it quick, fast, and I want to do it steady so that I'm able to hit the maximum possible output level. So I will keep certain factors fixed in my mind. I will start producing and I will try to vary as minimum as possible. I will not go for a greater variation altogether. So short run is very, very important for all those business which are seasonal in nature. All the seasonal businesses, especially in the food sector, will have this kind of thinking or thought process so that they are able to get the maximum possible output in a limited time frame. Going forward, we have the long run cost. Now, what is a long run cost? Is it just the opposite of short run cost, or is it still more further significant? Now, if I use the word long run cost and try to understand the concept deeply, there are several other meanings that are also need to be looked upon. Now, the long run cost does not just mean that you keep producing for years together, but the significance there is that the factors of production, levels of output, and the combination of cycles. So now this is where long run will have a broader understanding when compared to that of a short run curve altogether. So moment that long run comes, going back to our example of chocolate, now if we are an industry like Cadbury's or Nestle, our ideology is that we don't manufacture for 1 month or 2 months or 1 year. We would like to run this business for years to come. We would like to be immortal in this business as long as possible, because we believe that this is our bread and butter. We believe this is our identity. Cadbury's is known for chocolate. So if you want to become a brand, if you want to become the identity of the chocolate world, then you would like to do a business for ages to come. At that point of time, your ideology, your understanding would be on the long run costs. So you would immediately start focusing on the factors of production. You need more manpower, you need more capital, you need more land, you need more machinery, you want to expand, you want to produce in larger quantities, you want to try the varieties that are available in chocolate, you want to experiment, you want to innovate, you want to come back and say to this world that I am not just going to do production for 1 or 2 years. I am going to continue doing production for the years to come, and I have to keep a very, very stable output coming years. So in that case, I will not restrict myself. I'm ready to take the cost. I'm ready to take whatever possible that I can, and I'll keep on manufacturing. In that context, my output will also start varying. When I started as a small chocolate industry, probably manufacturing 1 lakh chocolates would have been a great dream destination for me, would have been a great achievement for me. But today, when I grow to the level of a Cadbury's, even manufacturing 10 million or 100 million chocolates per year would not be a great thing, would just be another day for me. So what will happen here is that the levels of output will also increase. So this is a very, very important factor. And the long run production, you need to understand this factor clearly, that I want to steadily increase my output. So I will not be happy by just saying that yes, I have done my job. I want more and more. My acceleration is at a higher pace altogether. So I would start thinking in my mind that I need to produce, I need to grow, I need to innovate myself and step up myself. So my levels of output will keep on increasing. And combination of both the cycles. Now, being in this industry for a long time, I know what is a short run, I know what is a long run, which means I know where the demand goes up and when the demand comes down. I know when people want me really in the market, and I know when people will step back away from me, which means I have understood the industrial cycle. I have understood the business cycle in the field of chocolate. So what I would do is that use my business acumen, use my business knowledge, and I would combine the cycles of short run and long run and start producing according to the need of the market. So, in short, when we start talking about the long run cost altogether, coming to a quick recap on this, the long run is typically meant for industries who are well established, who want to go further, who have now seen a clear-cut objective where they want to keep producing for longer years. Is it true that even a short-run industry firm can also become a long-run? Absolutely yes. In the long run is nothing but the combination of all short runs put together. So, three factors that we have to keep in mind. The factors of production will change, so land, labor, capital factors will change in a long run. We are not going to restrict ourselves. The second factor, levels of output will increase. We will manufacture as per the needs. Next, we also have the combination of cycle. So I will combine a short run, I will combine a long run. I will have my own way of reproduction in terms of getting into the chocolate world. Now, moving on to the next cycle. The total product. The total product is something that is very, very interesting when it comes to economics. Why this is interesting? When anybody asks you, what is the total value of your product, or what is the total cost of your product, or what is that a product in totality, that means in economics, we are trying to answer these two questions. We are trying to answer variable inputs and output put together. Now, what is this if we have to understand in a layman term altogether? Any product that is available in the market has a final value, has a final touch or a tangible factor to it. So when I say a piece of chocolate, a bar of chocolate, that chocolate is actually a complete product. It's a total product in it. It's completely manufactured, wrapped, labeled, nicely tagged, and then we have a price on it saying that this is the value of the chocolate. So that final product which is available to the customer in the stores, in the retail marts, is my total product. So what does that total product comprises of? It comprises of all the variable inputs, which means there might be the factors of land, labor, capital, plus the quantity, what I am producing. That is my total product. So when I say 100 grams of chocolate wrapped in a nice bar, in a nice packet altogether, that includes my man, machine, labor, capital, all put together with that 100 grams of chocolate put in a nice tag paper all together and coming out as a total product. So that is my final value. That's my total product altogether. Combination of all inputs put together coming out as a single output, a finished output altogether is my total product. So in total product, it is the final value, it is the final destination altogether. So there, people will not again bargain, or they will not be in a position to again go back and alter it altogether. That is the final product. So that is what you are going to display in the market. That's what the consumers are going to look at you as a final product altogether. So one more time, total product means combination of all variable inputs, land, labor, capital, plus the output, whatever you are going to manufacture, which comes out as your finished product. That is called as total product altogether. Now moving on. Average product. The word average is a very, very common word in our life. Now, every time people ask you this question, what is the average marks? What is the class average? On an average, how much salary do you take? On an average, how many days do you take vacation? So that word average is very, very common in our life. But what exactly is average? Is it a statistical value, a mathematical value, an economic value? What is this average all about? How do you define average product in economics? Now just look at the small formula here. Total product divided by labor is equal to average product. Now total product, so if my total product is 1 or it is 100, for example, divided by labor, so 10 people are working on it, so my average product value is equal to 10. So 100 divided by 10 is equal to 10. Now what is that total product? As we discussed in the previous slide, total product is the final finished product. When you divide it by one variable input like labor or land or capital. Here we have taken labor, so we will go with the example of labor itself. So when that final product is divided by that one variable input called as labor, you will get your average product. So on an average, you are producing 10 products daily or monthly. So an average will tell you on any given situation what is the kind of product, how much the product that you are producing on a daily basis, monthly basis, or on an yearly basis. So average will give you that anytime momentum, that anytime movement, saying that this is what we are producing on a daily basis or on a monthly basis. Moving forward, marginal product. Marginal product is a very interesting concept. Why? Because from here we are now going to get into the real entrepreneurial mind of a businessman. Why? Because every time when we do business, we always think, what is that we can get extra? Because it is not enough that we earn profit. We need to earn something more. So what is that we get extra by putting in the same input? That's where the catch is. I will put in the same amount of input. I am not going to change my inputs. I am not going to increase my investment. I am not going to increase my labor. I am not going to increase all my factors overnight. But what I want is that over a period of time, without changing much on my input, with just a marginal change, which means just a minute, a minimum change, can I get a change in the output? If I just increase my labor by, instead of 10, if I make it 11 or 12, automatically if the output can also increase, I am talking about marginal product, which means I am gaining something extra, something more than the average. So that is where the industry really gets excited. Now they can go back and tell that with the slight change, their output has increased, which means their manufacturing capacity has increased, their methodology has increased, they have been able to do better than the others. So every time, this marginal product is a very important concept in economics, which tells to the industries that they will be able to produce something more than the average. So how do we arrive at that marginal product? Change in output divided by change in input, which means when there is an increase, a change in the output by getting into an input factor. So suppose the output, the final product is increased by changing labor, capital, land, or any other factor, there is an increase in the marginal product. This leads to marginal product. Moving forward, law of diminishing marginal product. Now, until this stage, we have understood that production is an exciting concept. Everybody wants to produce, everybody wants to sell in the market, everybody wants to become rich, because the concept of production itself is to manufacture as much as possible and start selling it in every corner of this globe. But then, the production has got a backstage. It has also got a backdrop altogether. Now what is that? That is the law of diminishing marginal product. When you start increasing your production, when you are just concentrated on the fact that I want to produce, I want to keep on producing, so I just keep on increasing my manufacturing capacity, at one stage you start seeing that there is a decrease in my marginal product. Why is that decrease? What makes it to suddenly fall down? Till now I was doing well. I was able to manufacture as per the demand. Things were going extremely good for me. Everything was just coming the way it wanted to be. But still now I am seeing that there is a decrease in the marginal factor. Why is this happening altogether? The answer to it, the reason behind it is that you have now utilized all the inputs. So when you start utilizing your inputs at a higher rate altogether, there will be a decrease in the marginal product. Because you would have started reaching a saturation point where the production will start taking a nosedive situation. It starts coming down. Why it starts coming down? Because you are now not having the same quantity of input. You are now started dipping downwards. You have started utilizing all the material, your inventory is depleting faster and faster, but you are not able to produce extra products. You are just going on rapidly producing. At one stage, your marginal product starts decreasing. Automatically, you start hitting a saturation level and slowly you start dipping downwards. So the law of marginal product, diminishing product says that the increase in production leads to decrease in marginal product. So from an exam standpoint, what should we keep in mind? Increase in production will lead to decrease in marginal product. That's what we need to remember. Moment the production increases, there will be a decrease in marginal product. Next, the law of variable proportion. When we move on to the next part, it is the law of variable proportion. It says that the marginal product of a factor initially increases with its employment level, but after reaching a certain level of employment, it starts failing or it starts coming down, it starts falling altogether. Now, why is that factor altogether important for us? Now, let's try to understand the law very clearly here. The marginal product of a factor initially increases, but after reaching a certain level of employment, it starts falling. Now, that is very, very important for us. So, what do we mean here is that initially, when you start producing, let's say in our chocolate business itself, you suddenly start getting more interested and you start manufacturing smaller quantities, but the quantity amount starts increasing. Instead of manufacturing 10 chocolates per day, you start seeing you can manufacture 12, next day 14, 16, 20. You start slowly increasing your quantity and you start seeing that the marginal product of a factor is initially increasing. You're interested, you're excited by the factor that yes, I'm able to produce that one little bit extra every day. That's quite interesting for me. But then how does it happen? Because you are employing one extra factor. You are putting a labor factor more. Instead of making 10 people work in your industry, probably you are employing 12 or 13 people so that you are getting every day that one extra bit of chocolate or one extra bit of finished product. But then after reaching a certain level, you suddenly start seeing that the laborers are no more interested. They have suddenly started demanding you more wages. They have suddenly started losing interest in production, so that employment of the input, that means the labor factor itself, now has started decreasing. The interest levels have started coming down, which results in decrease factor of your production. So automatically your production will also start coming down. So in a variable proportion, that word is very, very important. It varies. It does not fall down immediately. It does not increase immediately. It goes up to a certain level and then it moves to a saturation point and then it starts falling down. So there is a variation. There is a movement along the graph. It goes up for a certain time, attains a particular level, then it starts dipping. So that is why in the law of variable proportion, it is very important for us to understand that initial movement given through some input, might be land, labor or capital, is very, very important, but that cannot continue for a long time, because if it keeps on going for a long time, there will reach a saturation stage and automatically that saturation stage will start pulling down your production altogether. So with this, we come to the conclusion of this session. I hope and I believe that you have understood the concepts of short run cost, long run cost, diminishing marginal product and law of variable proportions. Going forward, in the next class, we shall discuss in detail about the various long run formats, the cost factors together. Until then, all the best, and I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you very much.